So let's introduce this in the same way as Stephen Fry would on QI's. Good evening, 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 good evening. There we go. It's me, yes. I said to you I might do another video log before Christmas, and funnily enough I've decided to. Reason being, the weekend, it's been amazing. Friday night, I'm going to go a few things, but Friday night was brilliant. BBC 3, best channel in the world sometimes. 2 episodes of Doctor Who back to back, followed by the last episode of the last series of Sherlock. Watched it very, very closely. Still haven't worked out how it survives. Can't wait for the new series to start January. New Year's Day, I believe. Other TV channels are available, of course. So that was amazing. Saturday was just tremendous. A few weeks ago, through a mailing list that I'm part of, offered tickets for the Royal Opera House to go and see the Royal Ballet, do the Nutcracker. Anybody who knows ballet will know that their version of the Nutcracker is probably the definitive one. It's probably the closest one to Tchaikovsky's original imaging of the ballet and the story that's told. It's amazing. The scenery, everything. Going to the Royal Opera House itself, we'll come to that in a second. So first of all, decided to go. 4 of us were going, and we were getting a box. Seriously, on my bucket list, they're all up there. Box at the Royal Opera House, tick. We got this box. It was the one directly above the Royal box, so it was quite weird because when you looked out from our box down, you could see the Royal crest, which is held up by basically bits of wire by the looks of it. Anyway, so before that we went to my favourite restaurant. Anyone who knows me, I don't even need to give you the name, but I will, and it's Balance. Apologies for that, my phone is not on silent. That is really bad of me. So we went to Balance, had a lovely brunch down there, and obviously I will mention the other people who were with me, mainly because if Lynn Bradley isn't mentioned at least once in my blog, then she gets a complete meltdown and throws things and threatens me with all sorts of stuff. So I will mention Lynn. I can't mention Laura, much as I would love to, because she wasn't with me, and that was my fault. We're not going to go into that one again. I've had enough abuse about it. So there was myself, Lynn, and Michael Woolley, all went to Balance for brunch, and then we met Tracy President and went to the Royal Opera House. If you've never been in the Royal Opera House, then I don't think anything prepares you for how amazing it is, how grand it is. I've been lucky enough to be there a few times before. If you look on photographs, go onto Google, just put in images Royal Opera House, and that will give you an idea. But actually being there, going into the box, opening the doors, going through, standing at the edge of the box and just looking out at the auditorium, the stage, the orchestra pit, everything, it's just superb. The best theatre ever in the world. Sorry for anyone who doesn't agree, but you're wrong. You look at the orchestra pit and you realise that, unlike, say, most West End musicals or West End shows, you're not just going to have a 10, if you're lucky really, 20-piece band, whatever you want to call them, down there. You've actually got a full symphony orchestra of about 40 people, 40, 50 people, and you've got them there, and that's huge. To get an idea of the scale of the place, and it's very difficult to give a proper impression of this, if you go onto Google, go into images and see the closed pictures of the Royal Opera House curtains. So the curtains are down, and there's 2 lines come down like that on each curtain, dum dum, and there's a great big E2R crest on each of those corners. It looks spectacular. It's when you see a cast member who's around about 6 foot tall standing next to those crests that you realise they are 6 foot tall. That is how big they are. It gives you an idea of the size of the place, of just the curtain. So we got in, we arrived. One slight disappointment, I have to say, not enough toilets. On our level where we were, there was 1 toilet, and that was shared both male and female. And there wasn't a bar either. When Michael went at the interval to get a drink, he was gone like 20 minutes or something, trying to find a bar, and eventually found one, bought back some water, which was really appreciated. Except, of course, then got a queue for the toilets, but anyway. So we sat down. The view was pretty spectacular, to be honest. Probably from where we were sat, you could see about 80% of the stage. One of the problems with boxes is they're always at the side of the auditorium, so unless you're very lucky or in exactly the right position, you're not going to see the whole stage. But that didn't detract from anything, because obviously the majority of the action takes place in the centre of the stage. The production itself, as soon as the music started, the lights went down, it just held everyone spellbound. This was a family event, they called it, and there was a lot of children in the audience, lots of children, and they were silent. You know, the first act is something like 55 minutes, and then the second act I think is about 49, something like that. And apart from I think twice, very young children sort of cried or something, I don't know, they weren't nowhere near me. Apart from that, they were silent. The actual performance itself, fantastic. I do have the Royal Opera House version of the Nutcracker on DVD, and I've watched it many times, and I absolutely love it. So seeing it live, seeing the fantastic transformation scene when the Herr Drosselmeyer makes Clara shrink down to the size of the mice, by effectively, in reality, everything else getting big around her. So seeing that scene live with this fantastic score of Tchaikovsky's, which builds and builds and builds and builds right up to the final point where these gold flakes come down. Sorry, I'm slightly enthusiastic here, as you may be able to tell. Any of you who's on my Facebook friends list will be able to see photos. There's quite a few of them that are taken from when we arrived, and basically I sat there for like, I don't know, nearly 3 hours with a massive grin on my face the whole time. The other thing that was great about this, and it's something I've never seen before, because it was a family event, family special event through, I think it's called the Paul Hamlin Trust, they did something very unusual. So at the end of the first act, the curtains came swishing down, the music stopped, the house lights started to come up, and then suddenly the curtains opened again, and there was a chap stood there on the stage with a microphone, and basically he said, "We're going to show you stuff you don't normally see." And they lifted all the scenery, all the flats, whatever you call them, went up into the air, and you could see behind the stage. And it's huge, it's vast, really vast. He was saying they could have 6 full-scale sets, apologies, actually just sat there ready to move in and out of place, because the way they normally do it is they alternate between a performance of, say at the moment they've got Carmen going on one night, and then the next night will be the Nutcracker, the next night Carmen, Nutcracker, so on and so forth. So, and they just literally move these things in and out. The stage itself, you know, I learned so much. The stage is sprung, which makes a lot of sense obviously for dancers, but they changed the stage for opera, so it's not sprung. So they have 2 completely different stages, and the stages are in sections, and I think he said they can go down about 6 meters or up about 3 meters. So I mean, it's the flexibility of the stage, what they can do with it was just amazing. One of the things I've missed, and as I say, I've seen this DVD of the Nutcracker millions of times. Okay, millions probably pushing it. But one of the things I missed was the fact that the stage changed colour between Act 1 and Act 2. In Act 1 it's black, in Act 2 it's grey. And basically they put down this, what they called vinyl, for Act 2, because it's much lighter, it's set in the Kingdom of Sweets, and it's, you know, everything's white and gold and very dazzling around it. So you have this very bright coloured stage. What else did I learn? Well, to be honest, so much. Apparently they have the largest lift, or elevator if you're American, in the world there, because their scenery is made offline, away from the Royal Opera House. So I think he said it was in Watford or somewhere, you know, that you wouldn't expect it to be. And the scenery is brought in by truck, and then they just drive the truck into the lift and lift it up so it comes out to stage level, or down if they're going into storage. Just amazing when you think about it. So that was tremendous. Highlights of the performance, obviously the transformation scene was in there, the intervals in there. There was a really unfortunate ballerina who, she made 2 massive and very public mistakes, and she was also a soloist, so you know, you couldn't miss them. First of all, she tried to come on stage at the wrong time. She was too early for cue, and then later on, about 5 minutes later, she was doing a small solo dance and she fell over. However, having said that, she got up and she carried on dancing as if nothing had happened. And that was just amazing. And at the end, the curtain calls and all the principals and all the leads came out for individual curtain calls. She got the biggest cheer of everybody, even compared to the Prince and the Sugar Plum Fairy, who do the most fantastic part of her in the second act. She got the biggest cheer, and I think that was one of the great things about the performance we went to, because it was this family performance, and there was people there who just appreciated it. One of the criticisms of the Royal Opera House and Covent Garden and the Royal Opera Royal Ballet is that so much of it is paid for by corporate sponsors who have a tendency, they'll go there, they'll have dinner, maybe on the restaurants there or beforehand, and they just have a tendency to fall asleep. They're not true opera lovers or ballet lovers. They're people who they're a corporate do. They've been sponsored, or they're financed to be there, or they're being wined and dined by somebody. And I think what we saw on Saturday were people who, whether they know ballet or not, and for many people it's a great way to get into ballet. The Nutcracker is such an easy story to follow. So whether you know ballet or not, they were there because they wanted to see first-class, world-class ballet, and they certainly got that. So an amazing performance, absolutely fantastic. So glad I went. Last year I tried to get tickets for the main showing of the Nutcracker, and they were all sold out in November. There was just no chance. So thank you to the Paul Hamlyn Trust. Thank you to the Sun, in fact, because it was through them that I got onto the mailing list for the Royal Opera House. And thank you to the Opera House and the Royal Ballet and the Orchestra of the Royal Opera House for a truly superb afternoon. So there we go. That was that. May have come across as slightly enthusiastic about this. If I bored you already, then I'm sorry, but it was amazing. If you haven't got the DVD, by the way, you can find the whole performance, not the one we saw, but one of the previous year's ones, on YouTube. If you type in Royal Ballet Nutcracker, you'll find I think it's about 6 different clips, and they'll take you through. Try and watch them in order, otherwise it will be very confusing. But they'll take you through the whole ballet. It was a recorded performance. There is another version of this, just to say this before I go, which was on Sky Arts recently, which is cool, which was by the San Francisco Ballet. Slightly different, very similar storyline to the sorry, I call it the original, but the Royal Ballet one, set in the 1920s, slightly different, but most amazing. At the end of the first act, you have the Dance of the Snowflakes, and in the version we saw on Saturday, obviously there's snow coming down, lots of it. It just looks so beautiful. In the San Francisco Ballet one, the snow is actually a snowstorm. It's a blizzard, and at times you can barely see the dancers because there's so much snow, and you just got to admire them for being able to dance so well and in time with all of this stuff falling around them. The other thing you have to admire dancers for is putting up with the noise. I was really surprised, as you sort of forget, because when you watch ballet on television or on DVD or whatever, you don't really hear anything except the music. All the other sounds have been removed. But at the end of the opening act, the opening scene, when this flats down, there's people going across the stage going to the party at Clara's parents' house, and you could hear Herr Drosselmeyer's workshop being rolled out into place and everything else. And it's the same after the fight with the Mouse King. The Nutcracker and Clara do a lovely little pas de deux together, and this great big sheet comes down. It's really beautiful, but then you can hear the scenery moving in the background as it's getting ready. So that's really weird. The other thing that's quite noisy is, and if you think about it logically, it makes sense. Even though they're not wearing, spike shoes or heels or anything like that, when people dance and they jump and land, there'll be a sound, some sort of thump sound. So it's quite a lot of that, and it was sort of almost surprising, but it was great because, again, that's part of the whole live experience. So while we're on the subject of ballet, one thing which has always, it's always made me wonder a bit is, a lot of people are very, very derogatory about dance, especially about male dancers. All male dancers must be gay. All male dancers are puffs, blah blah blah. They're not really. Absolute rubbish. you know, and we were talking about this afterwards, but you think about it logically. Okay, ballerinas don't weigh much. They're normally quite small, very slim. 6 to 8 stone, shall we say? Maybe less, maybe more, I don't know. So a male dancer has got to be able to literally have this woman, this ballerina, run across the stage, throw herself at him. It's not just going to grab her. He's got to make sure he catches her correctly so he can then hold her up, or he can help her spin, or he can do various other things. The sheer physical strength of him being able to do that, and quite often, and if you watch it, watch ballet, you'll see this. Quite often, he'll move around the stage while he's holding her. You know, and that takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of skill. And obviously, takes an awful lot of work and practice. So, yes, I'm sure quite a few ballet dancers are LGBT, but that, you know, they should not be derided because they're male ballet dancers or male dancers of any sort. The sheer effort and skill and fitness level they have to achieve would outrank any sportsman, I think. Take a show such as, I don't know, Mamma Mia, there we go, all singing, all dancing, 8 shows a week. You know, for the chorus, will do a hell of a lot of work. That is a massive commitment on their bodies that they're putting in for that whole time. So never be tempted to believe that these overpaid people, shall we say, who get their 70, 80, 120, 200,000 pounds a week for running around a football pitch for an hour and a half and falling over every time someone comes near them, never believe that they are better trained, better athletes than dancers. There we go. A little bit of a rant there. I haven't had a chance to do one before, so that's good. Right, final part of today, really. I've no idea how many minutes I've done, but each one of these seems to be getting a bit longer, possibly as I'm feeling more relaxed with the camera. So on Saturday night I posed a question, which was, what do you do when, in fact let me just call up the question, and then I'll tell you on why I posed it the way I did. That's me. So it's really bad when things are really slow on your PC. Okay, so yes, so times there are really times when I need to have my phone taken off me. However, the actual question I put was, OMG, what do you do when the love of your life, who you haven't spoken to in 2 years, walks into the same bar you were in? And I did put hypothetical at the end of that, but in fact it wasn't hypothetical. Anyone who knows me knows that I went out for a little while with a guy called Richard, and he was my first gay love, my first and only, no, not only, that's unfair, but definitely my first gay love. And it didn't end well, various reasons. And then I spent a while being a complete and utter moron around him, not able to speak to him, look at him or anything if ever I ran into him. And then we did talk occasionally and things and blah blah blah. And then I didn't see him again, let's say, for 2 years. It was roughly Christmas 2 years ago, last time I saw him. And he turned up in the bar on Saturday that I was in. Sensible thing to do would be to either A, stop drinking and go home, or B, say hi, just be relaxed and say hello. Unfortunately, I did neither of those, and so the rest of this is acting as a warning to anyone else in a similar situation. I didn't say anything. He stood right next to me and completely blanked me at one point. And he's a bit taller than me, so theoretically he was probably just looking over my head. Maybe he didn't notice I was there. And then I got very drunk, so that's not what you should do. I didn't handle it well. Salary. So there we go. So it wasn't a hypothetical question, and hopefully I've learned from it. God, I'm 50 years old. I should have learned by now. But do we ever? What I did learn is you never do get over your first love. Real shame that, but hey. And that really is it this time. Okay, I'm done. Me and Darth are sitting here. We're watching Gremlins 2, which I've never actually watched before, and from what I've seen of it so far, to be honest, I'm not sure why I'm bothering now. I think just because it's on. It's not great. I apologise for the nasal quality of this. I have got a bit of a cold going on. I'm going to have a quick drink of Tizer. Other drinks are available. I'm not endorsing anything here. And I think that's about it, really. I don't know what else to say. So, this will be my last one before Christmas. So have a fantastic Christmas, whatever you're doing. If you're with family or friends, or you're on your own, just have a fantastic time. Don't forget Doctor Who's on Christmas Day. Very important. Matt Smith's the last one. Don't forget Sherlock's on New Year's Day. Very important, because we're going to find out how he survives at the fall. And I will see you all in the new year. Thanks very much. Have a great Christmas. Bye, everyone.